weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Weird Science Preview Show, the show where we're going to go through a bunch of things that I am looking forward to coming up this week, and not even just the things I'm looking forward to, but some big things as well that I may not be looking forward to. But as I say in all of the other shows, including our Best of show, this is a show where I would love to hear if there's some things that you're looking forward to that maybe I might have missed, and I could add them in and add them to my pull list, add them even to some review shows, because we have a bunch of those here on the Comics YouTube channel, but we also have them on our regular feeds, a DC Comics podcast, a Marvel Comics podcast. Again, I apologize for being a couple minutes late. It was because I was recording our Marvel Comics podcast and realized, oh God, we got to finish this up. I better stop yelling about One World Under Doom #4 and get over to that YouTube channel, is what ended up happening. But also we have our Patreon, where if you want to help support us and get a ton of other shows, a lot of reading clubs, a lot of stuff, even an indie comics podcast over there, you can go to patreon.com/weirdscience. Everything will be in the description of this video with links that you can just click on. Very easy peasy. And if you're not aware, we do this show every Monday night at 9 p.m. to 9:15 p.m. So on the YouTube channel. So if you want to get involved in the live stream, please come over to our YouTube channel and subscribe and possibly even hit the notifications. And hopefully you won't be like most people, because I said this the other day, that every time I have a show, I lose about 1 or 2 subscribers every single time. That continues to be the deal. That continues to be the lay of the land. It's kind of disturbing and upsetting, but that's just the way it is. And in the live chat, Josh is letting me know what he is looking forward to. I believe that Josh's pull list each week has at least 7,000 comics on it. I think it may be that he definitely has a lot of things going. Joseph Wolf says, I got about 8 books in really liking coming out, or he's really liking coming out this week. There are some good ones. There's actually some good books coming out this week. And it is a thing where the last couple weeks, DC especially, I think, because they had the annuals week, that's never great. Then last week, I thought they were going to come back with a bunch of good things, but there was a couple things, but not anything stellar in my mind. And that kind of threw me off. It seemed like they were waiting for this week, because they have a lot of good ones. I'm not going to say that I saw a lot of great things at Marvel, but there's always some. And again, I ended up where I don't know if people had seen, there was a little brouhaha going on the YouTubes, also on the Twitters, where certain people were throwing shade at other people, and then everybody else kind of got involved, and then things were being said and whatnot. And then suddenly I'm being told by everybody that I'm miserable or negative. I'm like, maybe on certain things. If you see the aficionados deal, I think I might come up more negative there than anywhere else, but it's kind of set up that way to be the topics of the show. And there you go. I was told I was a miserable prick, is what I was told. And I might agree with some of that. Just some of that. And Riley said the best current book is the Fantastic Four facsimile. It might be. It might be. I don't know about everybody, but I think that Riley would agree. Those facsimile, they're pretty cool. I really do like those. And when we do our DC Comics podcast, we do have a retro book of the week every episode. And I do try to put the facsimile edition that DC puts out. I try to put that on the list because I think it's cool to be able to go and get the facsimile edition and then end up going and, reading along, whatnot. This week, though, it's like an 80-page Legends of the Dark Knight Halloween deal. First off, it's not Halloween. What are we, Summerween again? I don't need that. And 80 pages. What are you talking about? So I put a bunch of other things. But there are some cool things, including some number ones coming out, and maybe some things that you'd consider a number two. But we're going to start with DC. And again, this might end up being a little bit longer because there are so many cool things. And if you haven't listened to the show or watched the show before, I'll give you the title, the creative team, the price. the company if it's an indie thing, so you know, but also read the solicit. And we'll start with Absolute Batman number 8. Hopefully the solicit says Batman kicks more babies, because that'd be great. But it's written by Scott Snyder, Marcos Martin on art. This continues, and why you have him instead of Nick Dragotta, it's because of that little Mr. Freeze deal that he did the last issue, which I thought was pretty good. Also, I give the price, did I say that? $4.99. Batman is in the fight for his life against the icy new threat. But in the end, what terrifying truth will be unearthed about Arkham and Joker? So we'll end up going with that. I did end up where we were talking about the Absolute books, because we have an Absolute DC show every Friday night on the YouTubes at 7:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Me and Gray talk about whatever Absolute books came out that week. And I don't remember if it was in that or if it was one of the comments after or whatnot, because you can listen in the replay as well. You end up where somebody did say, why don't these books feel like they're in the same universe? I agree. They don't. They don't at all. And that's something where you're already seemingly pushing to this event that might combine the things, and you haven't even made these books feel, concurrent in a universe. So I hope that that kind of becomes a thing, or take your time and let it percolate, as I've said. But I am looking forward to that. I do really like Absolute Batman. I'm liking most of the Absolute books enough, but I'm really, really enjoying Absolute Wonder Woman and Batman. And then the next is the Superman, a little bit below that. And then the other three, the jury's out. I have to wait for those. The next book that I'm looking forward to on the DC side would be Aquaman, number 5. Jeremy Adams writing, John Timms on art, $3.99. Arthur's quest to save his people has hit a devastating dead end, but hope is not lost. Together with the wizard Arion, Aquaman must channel the incredible powers of Thalassa, the Tri-Lance Saber. The power of Thalassa, the Tri-Lance Saber. I just thought it was just to escape the dungeon barge, descending into the blue and uncover the last desperately needed clue to save the people of Atlantis. But floating amongst all this blue appears to be a shimmer of green. Says that like it's like nefarious. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what that all means. But I do like the Aquaman book. I love Jeremy Adams, so I'll support him with anything. But I kind of am waiting for them to get out of the blue and, into the regular. I want to see Aquaman doing Aquaman things. Hopefully he saves Mara, all that stuff going on, but we'll see. But I still enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot. So I'm looking forward to that. Continuing on the DC tip, we have probably what is still my favorite book at DC. It's Batman and Robin number 21. Philip Kennedy Johnson on writing, art by Javi Fernandez. I do wish that we could have maybe gotten a little bit of a, pedal to the metal with this Memento. I don't know that Memento is that big to keep on going seemingly throughout all the summer, but I do think it's to get to maybe a new number 1, maybe a new deal where you have a bunch of the books not restart, but start at number 1s. And I talked about this a bunch of times. I was confused why Philip Kennedy Johnson wouldn't have gotten a number 1 when he first jumped on the book. It would have served him well. I think it's because they're planning on renumbering in September around that time when Batman gets a renumbering. So you wouldn't want to start a number 1 and then in September do it again. That's just a theory of mine. I hope actually, because usually I say I hate when they do a new number 1 with the same creative team, but I like what Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing, and I think it would help him a lot with the sales if there would have been a way that people would have realized that it started new, and especially with Philip Kennedy Johnson, who I think a lot of people like. He's not the biggest name, but he has some pretty, loyal fans. I'm not the biggest fan of his, but I do like this book. Robin has been kidnapped. It's $4.99, by the way, because Batman's in the title. Robin has been kidnapped, stolen away by Memento, in a killing blow to Batman's psyche. Now, with his body broken and his mind fractured, I'm kind of done with Batman tripping on balls. He's on goofballs, people. I kind of want him to break out of it. The Dark Knight must fight his way through a gang war, Memento's cultists, and his own decaying mental state to save his son before it's too late. I hope he does save him. I like Damian. I like Damian a lot. And he's tripping balls, that Batman. So who knows what would happen. I'm going to go over to the the live stream to see what's going on in the chat here. Fear Monarch doesn't believe that I'm miserable, though I think he's being sarcastic. He also says those facsimile editions are nothing but trouble. For my wallet, it's like, take my wife, please, especially with those slick-ass foils. Josh says Summerween might happen this year. It might. Seems that it might go. I did have somebody bring up the other day, they asked me, hey, should I read Fear State? And I said, no. No, that was my answer. Maybe that was miserable. Fear Monarch also says, yeah, it's super weird. They're doing 2 of the 3 and maybe that third Jeff Loeb Halloween specials. And I get it. He's the name to milk at the moment, but why May? I don't really even know why he's the name to milk at the moment. I think it's overdoing it. Riley said DC did say it was a long Halloween. Yeah, it is a long Halloween. It's like all year long. Holy my! Even that. Here's the thing. You have that going, Jeff Loeb, but Jeff Loeb on the Hush thing is just pushed so much more. The last Halloween actually is pretty good, and I think that that's a better book than the Hush 2 stuff, at least so far. But I don't know. Japanic said Absolute Batman 8, Battle Beast number 1, Transformers number 20, and Space Ghost number 12. And those are some solid picks right there. And Exquisite Corpses. I'm not a big James Tynion fan. I never really was that huge a fan. He got elevated, that's for sure. He's still like probably with that, what was that? I wanted to say Squarespace money. Well, what's that deal that they do? The stupid thing that I still get Alex Segura's Substack. I get us. I am on just the free level of James Tynion's Substack as well. But Fear Monarch says, all right, guys, that was a good 4 issues of Batman and Robin. Time for a reboot. Yeah, you can't do that. So I think that there might be something to it. And yeah, the tiny onions. I like onions, but the tiny onions, yeah. So the next book that I'm going to focus on here will be a book that I think is really good and might overtake the Green Lantern proper. It's Green Lantern Corps number 4. Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton. There's been a lot of talk of who's actually writing. Is it that Morgan Hampton's writing it with a little aid from Jeremy Adams? I don't know, because it's good, and the stuff that I've read from Morgan Hampton besides this hasn't been. So whatever it is, I'm liking it. V. Ken Marion, who is a friend of the Weird Science deal, he's part of the Get Fresh crew. He's on the art. You have it be $3.99. Guy Gardner is reluctantly saddled with a new partner, but he's determined to keep him out of the way while they look for another source of nth metal. And while Simon Baz frets over Teen Lantern, and teen is in quotes. That's what I thought it was all like. It's just Teen Lantern, but maybe put it all in quotes. Teen Lantern seems weird. That seems sus. And if you think that sounds weird, it really isn't, because Simon has really been very protective of Kelly, and has been since Jeffrey Thorne's run. He was real concerned with her. But again, Teen Lantern I like, but she makes no sense in this book. The idea that they're like, well, they were going to use it, the United Planet, we're going to use her because she hacks into things or whatever. She found a gauntlet that wasn't Krona's gauntlet, but this gauntlet ends up where she just grabbed it out of a trash heap. Yeah, she was able to fiddle with it, but then they're trying to make it so that she has something of importance to do when they just should have made her a regular Lantern. It seems like she has the gauntlet again. That thing was destroyed in the Jeffrey Thorne play. So I don't get it. I think that they should have just allowed her to be a Lantern of some sort. I guess maybe she's too young. I don't know. Who's showing signs of strain during the rebuilding of Oa. I'm still, looking side-eyed at Ellie. I think that she's up to no good. We'll see. Those constructs, with dead people, it doesn't work out right. One of the worst, but I am looking forward to that. I really like it. And again, there's a bunch of cool things coming out, because I still have one more DC book, and that is Supergirl number 1, written by Sophie Campbell, art by Sophie Campbell. And what little I've read of Sophie Campbell, I like Sophie Campbell's art a little more than I like Sophie Campbell's writing, but I think that it's going to be one of those books where you're going to get a lot of drama. You're going to get a lot of non-superheroing stuff. You're going to have a lot of meals and things like that. And I will tell you, I think that a lot of Supergirl fans will still like it, because they're getting a book And I don't think she'll ruin anything. I just think that for the Joe Q public, it might end up being a little bit boring. But that's just me. I don't know. We will see how it goes. But Sophie Campbell doing that. It's $3.99. It's a new #1, though, so it's pretty cool. Kara Zor-El has been a key member of the super family in Metropolis. But what happens when she strikes out on her own? You know, like she did 10 other times in the past 5 years. Follow Kara as she returns to her roots in Midvale, home of Supergirl. But how could this be? Our hero has not been back in years, and the protector of that town has been saving the day for weeks. For weeks! Can Supergirl stop the imposter before they steal her fresh start, and life? Celebrated writer-artist Sophie Campbell celebrated. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles makes her mark on the DC Universe with this thrilling debut issue, plus a new costume designed by best-selling cover artist Stanley Artgerm Lau. I always thought that Artgerm was like really, really popular. I'm not a guy who collects covers. I don't really even pay attention to it. But I remember hearing Artgerm. I think there was some like Batgirl covers back in the day that people really liked. Now suddenly I see that people don't like them, that they say it's too sexy or something. I saw that in League of Comic Book Geeks. Like, all right, I guess they're not bringing sexy back because they're trying to cancel. It's not Greg Land or anything. It's not like a Hustler as the photo reference, but we'll have to see what is happening. I'm going back to the deal when, what is this? What is it called? The chat. Fear Monarch says the H2SH, the Hush 2. I hate the way that they put that. And then Riley said Subsec. Yeah, I finally remembered that. Japanic says, Jim, did you like Tynan's co-writing and writing a New 52 Batman? No, I didn't. And in fact, I liked his Detective Comics until it became garbage and nobody wants to admit it. That Detective the Detective Comics deal in the Rebirth was really, really good until it just kind of fell off the face of the earth in my mind. But no, I have not really liked much of the James Tynion stuff. I really am not a fan. And by the way, the co-writing on the Batman and Robin Eternal, when he did that, that was one of the worst events I've ever read. I had to deal with that every single damn week for too long on the podcast, and it drove me nuts. But and then Jagron 2 is Lane, and I will tell Japanic, at the one point I was calling Japanic Lane because I got mixed up because Jagron 2 is the... That's why, so Japanic will know. I just ended up where I had a brain fart. And he's like, why are you calling me Lane? I'm like, I think your name's Lane now. So now we have 2 Lanes in the chat. Fear Monarch says, it's spooky comics, so I know it wouldn't be your cup of tea. But we should get a new Sickness issue this week. One of the best horror comics ever. Yeah, I'm not really into horror comics. Riley says Green Lantern inflation is going crazy. By 2030, there will be 15 Earth Lanterns. 2030? It's like 2026. You're going to get that. Half will be constructs, I think. Lane says, I'm kind of surprised I only have Marvel books to pick up this week. That is a surprise because I only have like maybe one that I might mention, though I will mention a couple others just to talk about. But I just came from reviewing some from our Marvel podcast. And Fear Monarch says 9-page grid of Dinner Time. Oh boy. Cheesecake covers, check. And Detective Gabagool. I had fun talking about it, and it was really good at one point. I really, really liked it. But it fell off after a bit. Yeah. Alan says it. I mean, there are a lot of people who, this is what gets me sometimes when you're talking about things, and this isn't being negative. I just try to be honest about it. But there's certain books where people will demand that, I talk about this all the time, but if you like a book, it's okay to admit at points where, oh, that issue wasn't great. Oh my God, this arc was down. You're allowed to do that. That doesn't mean that you've bailed on anything. You're not there. You don't get your card taken away because you say that. And I find so many people where when they say, like, again, if you talk about Justice League Dark, the most recent one, I liked it overall, but there were times and stretches in that book where there was not much going on that I'm like, come on, let's get with it. And I actually thought it got a little bit better when Ram V took over from James Tynion and had a great, annual, but overall people like they want to get in this zone where if I say this is good, I can never say that it's dipped. I can never say that this was a little off. And there's certain books like that and certain writers. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it because Detective Comics was great. It was probably at one point my favorite Rebirth book. And then it just kind of went a little south. It started when you started having, the Teen Titans come in from the future. You have that Hyper Time deal where Hyper Time was the hero. Even when Tim Drake ends up getting sent away, where you thought he was dead, but they revealed it way too soon that he wasn't. He was in that space prison. You had Oz and you have Doomsday. Like, it just started falling apart a bit. And it's okay to say that was a really good series, but it ended up wonky. You're not going to upset people. Oh, my goodness. Right? And then Alan says, I like Detective Rebirth a lot better than Rebirth Batman. I don't like Batwoman, but Detective Comics was so damn good. I agree. I'll even say, again, somebody who comes on these shows a lot and will say how much I don't like Tom King's writing. I liked Batman for a good half a year. You have to remember there were 2 issues a month. So, you end up having, up to about issue 12 or so, I was really liking it. It's one of the books that I gave my last 10 out of 10. And it's only because it hit the feels with me when Gotham died, spoiler alert, and Batman takes up the cudgel to comfort Gotham Girl. Now, later on, Gotham Girl went completely batshit crazy. He ends up having her beat up Captain Atom. I'm like, this is bullshit. But again, you can like something and then you can not like. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to set it in stone. Like I said, and what happens too a lot of times, and it will happen with Supergirl. There's certain characters that I see it happen to a lot, and Supergirl is one of them, where I have talked to people who are Supergirl fans and even other characters. When you end up where you have the idea of, I like a character, that doesn't mean you have to like. I think that you end up where, here, Yule just showed up, and welcome, Yule. Yule's here. Loves the Dodgers. I don't know what's going through his head, actually. I do. And that's cool. But Yule probably at points is the most critical of the Dodgers than just me here on the East Coast just watching things, because that's the thing he loves. He loves the team. He loves them. So you'll be critical. And that's how I am with the characters as well. I want everything great with them. So I'm not going to pretend just because, if I end up saying this isn't good, then she's not going to have a book because I'm a huge Supergirl fan, so I have to say it's good even if it isn't. And people have admitted that to me, and it drives me nuts. It really does drive me nuts and insane and nuts. But Brandon says, and also Fear Monarch says, a certain website borderline blocked me because I was bored, confused, and disappointed with Future State. Wasn't us. Because I was too. We went through, again, when you had Future State and you had Batman and Robin Eternal, you had World's End, all these things, and you had those big, hey, this is a half-a-year event. This is a year. Boy, it really threw. Just imagine, like, every week for our podcast had to start with those 3 books. It was always those 3 at the beginning, and then we'd move on, and it just it became a chore. Brandon said, I wish someone would take away Tom King's DC employee card and spare us this awful writer. Again, I liked his Grayson book, but realized when he left that, it was a wreck, that there was a lot of things that were never resolved, and actually Lansing and Kelly were thrown in to do that with Auto Nets and the whole thing with the spider deal and it was ridiculous. But Yule likes Danger Street very much, so that is cool. I'm not a huge horror comic fan, but I even like that a little bit. I don't know why. Horror comics just never did it for me. I get scared, I guess. Lane says, I used to defend King's Batman run quite a bit since I was a fan of it up to the wedding issue, which was my most reviled Batman issue maybe ever. Then came Nightmare's story, which was Nightmares, the thing that got me when we were doing it. And again, the background of us in the podcast and the stuff with Tom King, I lost my nuts over the Brave and the Mold. You can go and read my review of that on our site. And there were so many inconsistencies of logic. And then the idea, you have to have, like, here's the other, like, all these weird side things. But I know it's comic books. It's, hey, it's comics. You go. But a comic has to have its own set of rules or else things fall apart. And people argued with me so much about this over the years. Like, suddenly you can't just have Batman fly. There's rules. There's what goes in the book. And so there was a lot of things in that drove me nuts, and people were just going like really ripping into me. Then the same thing kept happening. And I remember with the first issue of the Jokes and Riddles, I completely lost it. I talked about this. I got so angry, screaming so much that there was actually 2 other podcasts that actually lifted audio of me losing my mind to make fun of me. Then they became friends with me later. So take that. That was my ultimate revenge, as they actually became friends with a piece of shit like me. But in that, I was done. I was reviewing it on the site. I said, I can't do it anymore. Then we started getting so much shit for not liking Tom King's Batman. And people like, again, it does come into play of, oh man, like you're never going to like it. Why do you review it? Well, we're a podcast and it's Batman. So we ended up putting it on our Patreon. We ended up pulling it off the main podcast because we were sick of people yelling at us about it. And we called it King's Corner or something back in the day. Oh, it was the craziest. But yeah. Fearmark said Sickness and Junji. Junji Ito, the only actual books to make me unsettled. Movies can do it, but words just can't most of the time. There's a couple of manga that will get me. And it's more of not scared. It's more of being kind of like sad, like bad things happen and I get sad. Fearmark said you can't just have Wonder Woman fly. You can't all of a sudden just have their jet be invisible, right? Like, that's the thing. You have the set of rules for the characters. You can't just have all of a sudden Wonder Woman has heat vision. That would be like giving Black Canary heat vision at the end of Absolute Power and never showing it again. Remember, she had heat vision at the end. Yeah, I remember that. And Batman landed from the moon on Earth, and people lost their mind over it. Right? I thought it was ridiculous. Eric loved it. Did you ever read Jim Human Target or Strange Adventures by King? Did you like one or the other at all? And that is from Lane. No, I read them and I hated them. I didn't like them at all. Because again, I think that a lot of times in those books, there's too many points. And I'll give you a little rundown of Tom King where it might. I'm not going to blow your mind. This isn't, hot take, but Tom King's writing a lot of times becomes too mean-spirited for me. It's not even the idea of saying, oh, look at this guy, he needs therapy. It actually feels mean-spirited, and that's not what I want from my hobby. I don't want to read somebody being mean-spirited. And I'm telling you, just the point where when in Human Target, you had the deal with ICE and what they did to Guy Gardner, like that just felt bad. And then, that Strange Adventures had that in spades. The shit that went on with Mr. Terrific, the stuff with what Adam was even doing, it just felt all along that time was just, boy, I just don't like it. And Lane said, did you read Black Canary? No, I dropped it. I read 3 issues and I was done. I gave it 3 issues and it just wasn't my thing. It didn't seem like anything was really going on. Lane said he didn't hate Jokes and Riddles, but it felt more like a big step down the Rooftops and I Am Suicide and I Am Bane storylines. I love the point where Batman seemingly, in heaven tells his mom, he might have just been, pretty much almost dead, or it could have been that he was in the concussion protocol. But the idea where he told his mom, listen, I'm no longer fighting this fight for you. I'm evolved in, I fight it for everyone. This is a fight for everyone. You inspired it. I think that, I did my deal, but from now on, I'm doing it for everyone. I thought it was a great moment. 3-day journey Batman did in minutes and re-entry into the planet. I threw that comic across the room. Well, Brandon, that's kind of the same thing when you ended up having, I guess, Cold Days in Tom King's run, where Tom King kept stress. Nobody could get to this area in Siberia. Nobody. And then mentions the amount, legitimately, I believe, and I'm not even exaggerating, it must have been 500 miles that Batman walked through this inhospitable area to then look like he kills Bane. And then even though we were told nothing could function there, he ended up trying like 80 bat planes. They all couldn't get there. But yet in a cabin right next to the cabin that Bane and Batman were in, there was like a Black Ops CIA deal that they were watching the whole time with surveillance. And then they went and got Bane and got out of there. It made no sense. Made no sense at all. So, and Joseph Wolf says, books do it more for me than comics. Yeah, that does. Again, I'm not a real emotional type guy, but sometimes an issue will get to me. But it takes really good character work for me to get invested in the character, then get upset. But the idea of scary stuff, it's just, again, it almost might be the mean-spirited thing where in a like a horror comic, you will have, somebody said it to, like, everything's bad. I don't know why. It's not my deal. Brandon says, no, thank you. Shirtless Riddler. Yeah, that's Shirtless Riddler. VNet Fad says, at Fear Monarch, have you read PTSD Radio? I was scared I couldn't finish it. LOL. You know what I've been listening to a lot? Now, it's not a comic, which that was, but I've been listening to a lot of Art Bell. The best of Art Bell. If you ever listen to Art Bell with his conspiracy theories and UFO stuff, it makes me giggle. But I've been listening to that at night. And Fear Monarch said he got the first volume and haven't read much of it. So there you go. And yeah, the editors have to be held accountable to, Japanic said. Yeah, the weird thing, though, with Tom King, if we're still like kind of on that, he'll blame the editors left and right. I've never seen him take any sort of, hey, I messed up there. It's always, oh, the Heroes in Crisis suck. Well, they maybe put Harley in and they did that. I'm like, get out of here. Get out of here. Yeah, Art Bell. I should have guessed that you would be in. I was listening to it the other day. I'll tell you, if you ever never listened to Art Bell, he has the craziest people on. He has the craziest people call in, and I'll give him credit. Boy, he does not ever put anybody down. There are people like, I'm being invaded by the lizard people that live in my shoes, and he'll seem very interested in that. He'll never put them down. I love it. Yeah, it's on some radio app that I had, and I'm like, oh, listen to it. And he has a very soothing voice, so I listen to it at night when I'm going to bed. But that is DC. We will move on. Like, again, this is going to take way too long for what we're doing. And we're going to move on to Marvel. And Marvel, though I think it was Lane says he has a lot of Marvel coming up, I do not. But I'll tell you at least the things that we will be reviewing. Maybe. I tried to get a hold of Gray to see what he wanted to do. I'm getting these all now in a row so I can go through it. But the first thing I'll start with, I'm telling you, this is why I had to mention, this is not the books that I think are going to be great. This isn't even the books that I think are going to be good. But the first thing, you have to include an event in the deal. It's One World Under Doom, number 4. I saw a lot of people were excited because at least we have Dormammu in the last cliffhanger, and he's, pretty much looks like Earth's a little marble, and he's this huge guy. But it is One World Under Doom, number 4, written by Ryan North with R.B. Silva on art. It's $4.99. Sensing vulnerability, Dormammu has attacked Earth, and only Doom stands in his way. Dormammu has banished. Well, I'm going to ask because I'm not going to read the full thing here. I'm going to ask people, and there's a little delay, so I'll have to wait a second. But does anybody know, going into this issue 4, if you're in the know, do you know what is going on in the One World Under Doom? What is happening right now with the Fantastic Four, the Avengers, the X-Men, and every hero in all of the world? Do you know what is happening with them? And I'm just going to wait. I should have the timer. Bing, ding, 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 to see if people actually do know. Because
how dare you?
I didn't know something happened, and then suddenly I go to review and read this. I'm like, wait a second. What are they saying? Because I'll tell you what's going on. Somehow in some book that I didn't read, and that's why I'm asking, because I want to know if anybody else knows, all the heroes in the entire world have disappeared. They're no longer on Earth. They are in a pocket dimension, banished there by Dormammu. Dormammu at some point, and please, somebody, if it's in some of the books, Free Comic Book Day, because I didn't get any of the Free Comic Book Day stuff, but somehow, some way, since last issue, where Dormammu was above Earth, now every hero is banished into a pocket dimension. It is mentioned in the recap, and I never saw it, and I really got upset, because that is ridiculous. If it is, and even if it wasn't something, if somebody says, it was in Doom Academy, why wasn't it in the event book? Why didn't we see something that big where Dormammu sent them off into a pocket dimension? It says in the solicit, though. So you'll say, if I'm lying, I'm dying, they say. Sensing vulnerability, Dormammu has attacked Earth. Only Doom stands in his way. Dormammu has banished all other heroes to a pocket dimension, leaving Doom to stand alone against the Dark Lord of Chaos. And again, please, I really, really want to know what happened, but we don't see it. We're told it. And so continuing on, though, it says, but on the other hand, Doom has never needed allies in order to ensure that his will is done. And then it's the ultimate showdown between two titans with an ending you won't see coming. By the way, the battle doesn't end in this issue. I'm not going to spoil things, but the battle doesn't end. And you will see the ending coming, and you'll just maybe shake your head. And also, if you're like me, you'll look at this final page and try to figure out what the hell is going on. As Earth hangs in the balance, it all comes down to Doom versus Dormammu. I don't want to spoil it, but trying to think of a way not to. There's a weird bunch of things being played out in this issue, and by the end, it feels as if we're supposed to realize all the things that Doom has been doing. Like, he's really been using the Sorcerer Supreme magic a lot, which I don't think we've seen that. It also plays out a thing where Dormammu says to him along the lines of, if you try to do that, you'll sap all of your Sorcerer Supreme power out, and then you're no longer the Sorcerer Supreme. I'm like, is that how it works? Because I don't really know. And it just felt weird. And Doom talks, he does this third person deal like he's Ricky Henderson. Right? And in the meantime, it just gets annoying. It's a lot of narration. And really the whole thing goes with the idea of, hey, Doom, I'm going to do this. No, you won't. Yes, I will. No, you won't. Okay. That's my summation. Joel says Doom should just outsource this. The thing is, Joel, please listen to the review. I start yelling. I started going, when Dormammu was saying this, I said, first off, we've seen Peter Parker do more Sorcerer Supreme stuff since he's been Sorcerer Supreme. And then at the one point when they're saying this, I said, just call it Peter. Just let him do it. Like, go off and do whatever you're doing. Now, if this would have been a reveal that there is this power deal, like what could I say? Like, almost like a charge. It's almost like a Green Lantern ring. If there was, then he says, oh, this is why I made Peter Parker do that nonsense, because I didn't want to deplete. It makes it feel like you have a limited amount of deal and then you're kicked out. And I just didn't get it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's the weird thing. I'll even mention to everybody who was in the other day, this happens to me a lot. And I've mentioned this to people and they end up like, oh, you're crazy. And this is another example. I was talking about Sabu the other day. And we were all talking about the ECW. I'm like, man, I saw this thing where Sabu jumped off the top deal. It was awesome. It was crazy. I get done doing the live stream, and I sit there and I go to look at my email, and like 2 minutes later, they announce Sabu's dead. And I'm like, how does that happen? How do you just out of nowhere, Sabu came up? And I even said, I think I was mistaken. I think it was Taz that might have jumped off the deal, but I couldn't remember. But I said Sabu, and then the guy dies. I think it's like a death note or something. Holy moly. It scared me. I'm telling you, it was weird. It was so weird. When I saw them, like, this has happened like more times than it should, right? Art Bell's dead, or thank God, because he would have died, because I mentioned him out of nowhere. Yeah, that mom said it's my turn. It feels so weird, that story. And I think it might have been Brandon earlier was saying, yeah, there it is. We're only halfway done. We still have another half of this event. Ooh-wee. Again, I like this to be a little more positive, but I want to maybe warn people a little bit about, what's coming up and whatnot. But don't be fooled by that solicit. And really, the solicit, I hate when a solicit gives you more information than you actually know or have seen. I think that's very lazy. Very, very lazy. And I'm lazy, so I hate it's game recognizing game, but it gets me mad. Next one, which I didn't like last time. I don't even know why I should put Godzilla versus X-Men #1. Fabian Nicieza and Emilio Laso. It is $4.99. Round 4 versus the Uncanny X-Men. And it's funny because they haven't really spelled it out fully, but it does go like Godzilla in these things. Even though Joe Kelly thought to say, oh man, that Godzilla showed up a little bit ago, like a week ago, and ended up fighting the Hulk. It seems like in my mind, you're going through decades. You end up with the 60s with the Fantastic Four, 70s with Hulk, '80s Spider-Man, '90s with X-Men. It makes sense. But Joe Kelly's like, yeah, he was just there like 2 weeks ago fighting that Hulk. Round 4 versus the Uncanny X-Men. When a robotics firm draws a kaiju's anger, the X-Men are called in to protect a world that hates and fears them from the counterattack of Godzilla. But what are the reasons for Godzilla's attack? Well, they just said that this thing pisses them off. And are the X-Men on the right side? Follow the X-Men as they take on the king of the monsters before humanity sends forth the Sentinels to finish the job. Round 4 and a series of 6 one-shot throwdowns. I would guess that every time you have this, you get Godzilla get a power from, that he hulks out because he drinks a little of Hulk's blood. He's got the power cosmic from Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four and the Venom thing and Spider-Man. So what does he do when he's fighting the X-Men? Is he going to schnick? Is he going to end up with optic blasts instead of out his mouth? Or are they just going to play it cool? Or suddenly he's able to go through portals to Krakoa. Maybe that'll be it. And then Franklin's like, really? Him? I can't go through anymore. That was bullcrap. That kind of upset me when that happened. But yeah, these have been okay. I know they're just for fun. That's Spider-Man to me. It looked good, but boy, that wasn't fun with me. But I'm sure that it's definitely selling because I've seen some of the sales. I wonder if Yule's selling a bunch of them. But you had Brandon say quick talk more about Tom King's career. I did hear rumors that he was going to be off of the Wonder Woman book in September, but I don't know. I don't think I do think that the rumor I heard with Cy Spurrier being off of Flash and Jason Aaron getting it may be true, but I don't know. You also have watched Akira for the first time in like a decade. Suddenly, Akira memes took off. We're just too powerful, Jim. Yeah. Me and Eric used to say, we used to get scared. We're like talking about crazy stuff, and then somebody would die. Godzilla has been so abused, it's gotten ridiculous, says Brandon. Beer Mark says Godzilla being pimped out to any company with money. True. Riley says, I wonder if the guy who invented the series of one-shots got a raise. Series of one. That, I'm telling you, series of one-shots, that, and since it's kind of a thing with the G.I. Joe books, I laugh. I forget which one it was, but it was in the New 52 where they had an almost silent issue. I'm like, almost silent issue? Like, isn't that couldn't any issue be almost silent? I mean, they just have to shut up their mouths. Hey, shut up your face. This is a silent issue. Thor's hammer's going to get stuck in his butt in the Thor book. Probably. No, what he'll do is he'll get like a lot of bling and yell it's hammer time. That worked out the last time, right? Yule says more than normal Godzilla books. I don't know if Yule's being sarcastic there because I don't know how much, but I would think that these would sell just because, oh man, Spider-Man Godzilla. All right, that kind of sells it. By Gorgira's Fade. Says, yes, exactly. Beer says, I just got it. Series of one-shots. It is funny. That is a good, Riley, that was a good one. It is so funny. The series of one-shots. Oh, yeah. See, this is what's fun. This is why I didn't love being pegged as a miserable guy who's all negative on the Twitter today. I don't even know how I even got mentioned, but I did not a ton. I still got mentioned. I was like, man, what's happening? Doctor Strange of Asgard #3. I will say, this book, I want to really like it. I wanted it to be something like, even if it is like, oh, Derek Landy, Carlos Magno, that's the creative team. And like, hey, it's not going to sell great, but I wanted it to be one of those books that I could say later, oh my God, you didn't read the Doctor Strange of Asgard. It was actually a lot better than you would think and actually pretty decent. It's not gotten, it still could, I guess, but it's just a weird book that you're not getting much of anything in it. And then there's a murder mystery. And then there's like, it just feels odd all around. But I do think that, well, I know that I want it to just be this weird thing. I do this a lot though. When we first started the website, when we jumped into the New 52 stuff and we were reviewing stuff, I picked a lot of books that were really, like, they were trashed by reviewers. And I thought, I'm the one who's going to end up, cracking the code here. I'm going to get into this and I'm going to tell people, oh my God, it's a lot better than people are saying. Oh, look at this. And these were booked like Birds of Prey and Stormwatch. I was completely wrong. They were garbage. And I didn't crack the code. I ended up reviewing them, though. There, take that. But it's like I said, Derek Landy and Carlos Magno. Strange gets trolled. You get that? Because there's like ice troll. Stephen Strange, the once earthbound Sorcerer Supreme, is in over his head. He should go and help Doom, is what he should do. Asgard is about to eat him alive. He needs the skull of a dark troll, and in Asgard, that means waiting in the battle. But I would think that the skull of a dark troll, it would be like when Gray, because I love sushi. Gray lives in Japan. The guy sends me pictures of him getting sushi from like kids. It's not a lemonade stand. It's a sushi stand. There are a couple kids on the side of the corner. Or he just stumbles onto just a huge sushi tray that's just there. I'm sitting there, and it looks great. I would think that's the same thing. A dark troll skull, I think that you trip over these things everywhere you walk in Asgard, but it says waiting in the battle. But can Strange do what Asgard requires him as his mission to become Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard? Doomed. He should get his ass to Earth and help Doom. Doom's in trouble. You know, Dormammu, I think that would be something. And really, maybe the Doctor Strange of Asgard book, if it came in a little bit before, because it is supposed to tie in, but it doesn't, like everything else. But you end up where it would have been cool if this series was like further progressed and you could then, and maybe we will by the end, where you do get, you know, Steven come in as the Sorcerer Supreme, first Sorcerer Supreme of Asgard, come in to kind of kick Dormammu or whoever's ass. You know, probably it would be at that point Doom, but I don't know. I would say that the ending of this is that Strange does something and gets back the Sorcerer Supreme deal, and then we would say we hardly knew ye Doom Sorcerer Supreme because we really haven't seen him do much. Yeah, Alan said he missed all the comic book Twitter stuff that went on today. Yeah, it was crazy. You end up where, again, I don't get involved in that big fight that happens. I sometimes I even run scared from even talking and saying things because I've been accused of being parts of these groups or whatever. I'm not somebody who likes to be in groups. I remember when I came home from college and somebody's like, "Oh, what fraternity you were in?" I'm like, do you know me? Fraternity? What are you talking about? Like that sort of thing. And so when it all comes down to, you know, this Comicsgate thing and this and that, I just like to like books. And so I like when I end up going online at some point in the past saying, I actually like Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Oh my God, you're an SJW. Then I was like, I like this version of that. Oh my God, you're a comics. I'm neither. I'm just caught in the middle. And what I said at one point, it really felt like I was the kid at the table while his parents argue. And I'm just like, I just want this to end. But and ended up where your boy Zach ended up talking shit on Wes from Thinking Critical. And then people started commenting because it was like, oh, look at these miserable pricks and this and that. And somehow I got tagged as one of the most miserable on the aficionados. I don't know. Sometimes it's maybe because I end up where I usually don't love being on the show. It kind of takes away a lot of my Saturday and I have to get stuff ready. And so I'm always miserable about that. But if Wes ever needs a hand, he knows he can ask me and I'll go on. And I do miss Yule being on, by the way. So Yule has to get his ass on. So you end up where Dungeon Carl also said, Fear Monarch said that Travis Moore's Strange mini series was beautiful. It did look great. It did look great. I didn't love it, but it did look great. You have Yule says he just finished his FOC, so that's cool. So he's cooling down because Elaine asked how he was doing. Dungeon Carl says, I was so excited for Free Planet, but got bored on the third page. I saw a lot of people were telling me about Free Planet and how much, and I did see there's a lot of yakety yak in that one, and that doesn't really go. I know that it's funny to say, oh man, there was too much words. But there's certain ways of doing it, certain ways that really make me go off the rails. Speaking of which, I don't know if you'd be able to tell because I'm always off the rails, but I don't have my medicine at the moment. They are back ordered, and it's hitting me hard. I have what you'd call the brain fog going now. So there you go. And then says, I don't get how you and Wes get dragged into stuff. You'll actively stay out of it. I definitely try to stay out of it. And I don't ever engage usually in that sort of thing. I just like stuff. The aficionados isn't the same without me. Now, what you could say instead of me being miserable, say, at least you could give me one thing, I think, is that if I do disagree with everyone and I know that disagreeing will make me look like an asshole, I will still go for it. I will still end up, and I'm telling you, you can hear where I'm not going to say it. So then when I do say it, it kind of comes blurting out, and then it seems like I'm mad, but I'm not. And I love everybody on the aficionados, and I don't care what they agree with or what they love, and that's their business. I just like them because everybody that's on the show, from Yule to Aaron to Wes to Dylan to Sully, everybody are very, very nice. Everybody on that show will always give another person a hand. They never look down on anybody, and maybe other people, but the whole thing, it does feel like just a bunch of brothers, and I don't like my brother, so I like having that feel. Free Planet is a novel with a couple pictures. Free Planet did way too much lore, world dumping. And I'll say also with the whole thing, and again, the whole thing that you get caught up in these fights or whatever, but I've had people legitimately, like when I started talking with Wes and going on the aficionados, I have a Patreon, and we do a lot of shows and things like that. A lot of people that are in the live chat are on the Patreon. I hope that they could tell everybody, yeah, he does a lot of shows, right? Do all that. The minute that I was on the aficionados, like 2 people quit the Patreon immediately because they almost like they were like, if you talk to that guy, then I don't want to be friends with you or something. And I said to this one guy, you're being hateful because you think somebody's hateful. It didn't make sense. I said, you're the one that's actually really spiteful and hate. It was weird. It was just very weird. It did upset me, but I said that I'm not just going to bail because I do end up, again, because I don't get involved in the fight, but I do end up treating people like they treat me. So there you go. It's weird, though. It really, really is weird. But let's get back to the thing. Shall we? I got to get to the thing now. That's the other thing. When I'm having problems, I'm like clicking and clacking all over the place. But yeah, that Doctor Strange of Asgard, I just want it to be good. It hasn't been great, but it's okay. Daredevil number 21. We finally got out of the 7 Deadly Sins deal. I think that was, 19 issues. Again, you can go and look up the receipts. I did call it after the first or second issue that it was the 7 Deadly Sins when people got all upset at it. But I did like that last issue. It feels, again, very horror-esque, even body horror story. And I think that it is actually pretty cool, and I'm hoping that it continues to be, because me and Gray will probably be reviewing this week on our podcast. Daredevil number 21 is written by Saladin Ahmed, Jose Luis, and Carlos Nieto on art. It's $4.99, which that could be $3.99, but okay. Hell's Kitchen is rotting, still reeling after the harrowing nightmares of Daredevil 19. Can't get past that whole 7 Deadly Sins. Matt Murdock is in uncharted territory. Oh, it's like that game, Uncharted? That's pretty cool. He may be surrounded by familiar faces, friends, and foes. Something's wrong. He can smell it. Nothing can escape the man without fear, and even amidst all the chaos and commotion of the city, something's festering inside Hell's Kitchen and eating its inhabitants alive, including Matt. It's funny, too. Some solicits really want to spoil stuff. This one's really dancing around the issue of what happened a month ago. And maybe, you could give people credit that they read it. Like the idea that there's a fungus among us. You see it right on the deal. Matt has been infected. They're using this kind of low rent building in New York City, which is way too low rent, to use it to kind of gather people. It seems like they're doing some crazy, fungus experiments on them. But we'll have to see. I thought it was pretty cool start to that story. Moving on to the next deal, there is one more, I think. But there's 2 more, I think. Red Hulk number 4. Red Hulk has been my favorite tie-in to One World Under Doom, mainly because it's not dealing much with the One World Under Doom. Enemies of the State. Oh, it's Ben Percy and Jeff Shaw. Red Hulk number 4. It's $3.99. Enemies of the State. Thunderbolt Ross, Machine Man, and Deathlock have escaped Dr. Doom's think tank. With Doombots hunting them down, they discover that Doom has taken over the world. They know how they face a much larger war beyond the border, and Red Hulk is ready to fight. That's a very ambiguous deal. What happened at the end, if you're not aware? They get out of this prison. You end up having Thunderbolt Ross. He is Red Hulk, but he is not gammed up. They come out. He can't get gammed up. He needs to go off and find this power plant in the meantime, Doom does show up. These big Doombots that form this big giant statue deal is pretty cool. But Doom actually shows up and says, oh, if he's going to do that, I'm going to use my Sorcerer Supreme power to just make it disappear. So he can't do that. But we'll see what happens. Maybe Dormammu ran him dry. I don't know. We'll have to see. But I do like that. And then one last book from Marvel. It's something that a lot of people get mad at and they pish posh and whatnot, and that's fine. If you don't like it, you don't like. Actually, I'm wrong. I'm gonna do two. I'll do this one that I was talking about first. It is Ultimate X-Men. I know that people hate it or love it, whatever. I'll admit that the last couple issues, I've been disappointed. This book needs to pick up the pace. Whether or not you say it's an X-Men book, that's water under the bridge. It's what it is. We're at issue 15. If that's your problem, then obviously you're not going to like it, and that's fine. I still think it should have been Ultimate Runaways, but that's me. But it's Peach Momoko on art and writing. But the thing, it just has to pick up the pace a bit. It has to get something going, and I hope it is this issue. But I'll be reviewing it on the podcast. A new age is upon us. Witness how Hizuko journey through her inner darkness wreaks havoc on her fellow mutants and reality itself. There you go. If we're still in the back to tank of the mind, I think, again, I really like the book. I would never recommend it to anybody because it's one of those, it's one of those that people could like or whatever. You don't know. It's whatever they decide. So it's not one that I think is an easy recommend. But the last couple issues I've given like 6s too, 6 out of 10s. So I'm kind of worried, but I do want to like it. I still do like it overall. I hope it picks up. The last one I will mention, this I should have realized this before. The problem is I'm looking at it now, and there may not even be a solicit for it. No, I'm telling you, everything that I hit ends up with an error. So I'll just have to go to League of Comic Book Geeks, I guess, to see. But it's Gwenpool #1. Gwenpool #1. I asked Gray if he would review it with me. I'll see if he does, but we'll have to see. There's already one review up for it. They broke the embargo, and they might get in trouble because they didn't give it a favorable review. It's a 5 out of 10, but it's weird. I know it's Kevin Scott. I'm trying to find the solicit, though. On the Comic Book Roundup where I was going, it ended up not having that. Here it is, Gwenpool #1. It's Kevin Scott, Stefano Nessi on the art, and it is $4.99, which is way too expensive for all new, all deadly Gwenpool. Gwenpool is back and more dangerous than ever. Here's the thing. Should I piss everybody off that I do actually like Gwenpool as a character? It's just that she's never really been written great in the past bunch of years. And then when she pops up like this, it's eye-rolling. Gwenpool is back and more dangerous than ever. Everyone's favorite reality twister's life is changing, becoming darker, grittier, and bringing her own brand of hyper-violent justice to a battle-strewn New York City. It feels like right now that this is just like, hey, like make Spider-Punk into Gwenpool deal, like that. Make her like edgy and stumps and that. And what has she got to do with Spectacular Spider-Man? If you're talking that book, I don't want any parts of that. But guest starring Fin Fang Foom and Jeff the Land Shark. Where is Sully? Sully's going to love this. This one will shock you to the core. I don't think it will, but it could be fun. It could be. I'm looking. There's a lot of variant covers and a couple with Jeff. There's an incentive cover. Oh, no, retailer exclusive from the Comic Mint Todd Nyuk Virgin variant. Maybe you could get that one with Jeff the Land Shark as a bazooka. I would not. But yeah, so you have that going on. Kevin Scott, not a big fan. So I don't know. I'm going to try to see if Gray will review it. Probably maybe put the review itself up as its own separate video. But I'm not going to count on it being very good. But we'll see. Everything could be good if it's good, right? That's my motto all the time. I'm saying all this, and I'm desperately trying to find the live stream. I lost it. And where is it? Where is it? Oh, there it is. Let's see what people are saying. Zero chance Gwenpool is good. Yule says, what Zach video do I need to watch to get caught up? You don't need to do a video. I didn't know what it was from either. It was actually a post. So you could go to Zach's page and just read the post that has it. VNet Fed says, I don't watch West as much anymore because every other word is white people, DEI, and gay, he says. I do a show with him on his Patreon that we review comics. And if he did say those things, I would probably yell at him. One of them he does say a bit, but it's more as a joke towards me. But yeah, I don't, when I talk to him, he doesn't say that stuff, and I wouldn't say it myself. I hope that you'd realize when we do things here. And again, I'm not going to pretend that I don't get interested in politics and things like that, but I will tell you that I don't mix it in with other things. Even when sometimes it's over the top or whatnot, I try not to get involved in that sort of thing. And then you end up, Alan says that what makes the show so great is saying, don't tell Doc or Aaron, but your show with Wes is the best on his Patreon. The funniest thing, Alan, is you've heard us talk, and every time we go to do it, I do end up, and there's Alan. Alan will tell you, if you did watch, people would know or watch that show. First off, I don't just sit back and let Wes tell me things and agree with it all the time. Me and him fight a lot, and we're fighting more and more recently. And I will call him on what I think is like some bullshit, that I think some bullshit takes or whatever. But in the meantime, we don't get involved in stuff with politics. But like I said, I am interested and do pay attention to political stuff, but that's not for here. And even with that, the idea is it's just not like, oh, I'm scared to talk about it. It's just that it's why. It doesn't have to be brought up at all. So, yeah, Gwenpool. And, yeah, hopefully they didn't post any songs from the issue. Peach is talented, but it's almost like she didn't plan for the story this long. Here's the thing, Brandon, with Peach Momoko. She's never done a story this long. And I've talked about it before. There's been interviews with the translator who does what he calls the marveling up of things, and has said Peach Momoko doesn't really know much about Marvel. And you could say, well, she should, whatnot. They seem to like it that way. I'm saying Marvel, and they tell her, listen, we want you to do this X-Men. And they never told her, oh, the maker. They just said do her own thing, and she is. And I get it why people wouldn't like it. I really do get it. I understand fully. I just like it. It's a quirky book. I don't look at it as, oh, this is the X-Men of the Ultimate Universe, so it has to be something. I look at it as, oh, it's a quirky book that could do its own thing, and I kind of do dig it. But I liked her Demon Day stuff as well. But a lot of that's the art. But you have bringing back the original Gwen Stacy. I read the first 19 issues of original series and liked it. Says Lane, I did too. I liked it. I actually like Gwenpool as a character in that first series. And I can't remember the guy who wrote it. Maybe you could remind me, Lane. But I thought it was fun. I thought it was funny. I know that it's a character that ended up with, what's her name being involved, and it was a variant. That doesn't bother me. I had some fun with it. And really, the guy Brandon, who I did the Marvel podcast with way back in the day, he was the one who got me into it. And I was like, it's kind of cool. Spider-Punk was the biggest missed opportunity ever. Whew, that book was bad. It even, when a book is in Philadelphia, I'll end up like, man, that's cool. I don't mind that. It did it dirty. It did that, and the Hawk Girl having all of the references from Josiah Axelrod about the Eagles. I'm like, nope, didn't work for me. Gwen as Deadpool and Mary Jane as Venom. Look at the state of Spider-Man. And Paul. And Paul's there too. So, and you also got Rec Rap and all those. Says, is there going to be 2 Gwenpools? What have they done to Spider-Man 20 years of collecting down the drain? Yule says Wes has turned it up a bit lately. I agree. I've actually told him that. I did tell him that. I think that he was looking around and seeing some other people and realized that, he's kind of got to set some things different the way he does it. So that's fine. Again, I said, it's not my thing. Here's the thing. Again, I sit there and I'll say to some people, and this is true, I'm not the smartest of guys, but I kind of know the recipe where I could change things and get this crazy push, but it wouldn't be anything I'd want to do. And it wouldn't be things that everybody in the live chat would necessarily want to get involved with. I like hanging out, especially these live streams with all of you. And because, we're just having fun and whatnot. I could change things and make it completely hateful, put woke in every thumbnail that I do all that, and then suddenly everything would change, but it might be more popular. But at what cost? The DC universe will never be the same. I don't like that. And I don't, well, I don't mix peas with mashed potatoes, Fear Monarch, but I do mix corn with mashed potatoes and think that is lovely. I love that. And yeah, Bello, if no one wants to review Gwenpool #1, I will, since I'm going to try reading the series. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'm into it. I think it might be fun. Brandon says Jim and Wes banner for 35 to 40 minutes before they discuss the first fuck. Does he do that on any other show? Because I don't listen to all of the stuff, especially on Patreon, but I think that might be my effect. And I have this weird effect where I have, well, the effect is what I do even when I'm by myself. I have a motor mouth. When Jim does laundry, he separates whites and colors. Now, there's where you're wrong, Riley. First up, to assume that I do wash. Actually, you know how fancy I am? I feel like I'm the new Keanu Reeves, actually, because we do not have a washer and dryer in the house right now. The only running water we have is to a toilet that's in an open room with no walls and also a sink. So I could, what I have been doing is I end up at this point, because they're redoing the house. And so I could do wash, but that would mean I'd have to go to like the laundromat. And I ain't doing that. So what I do is I have a very simple outfit right now. I have shorts, dark shorts, and white t-shirt, just regular white tee, right? So then when I go through the pack of 10 and the short, I then go and buy another one and then I have a pile of white shirts that either I'm going to have a white sale outside or I'm just set for life, because I've done this like every 10 days. I go and buy a new set of things and also shorts. I have a bunch of shorts already, but it's the shirts. So I'm actually, just buying the clothes I wear, but it's the same exact outfit, everything. And hopefully we end up where I end up getting the washer and dryer reinstalled. It's up there. It's just not hooked up. And Japanic, yes, Wes is the host of Thinking Critical and says, yeah, Dungeon Crawler. Carl says, I'm not big on clickbait titles and misery. Not either. I'm really not. Now, there's ways to do clickbait stuff. That's kind of funny. And I've been accused of it at one point. But I remember where I realized that people are so edgy on it is the idea that when Joe Kelly took over for Amazing Spider-Man, or it actually had the #1 because he'd already been doing the 8 deaths, but he's getting the #1. And my thumbnail was, is it any better? And then in the title on the thing, it said, is this better than Zeb Wells? Will it be better than Zeb Wells? And lo and behold, in the video, it is kind of but lo and behold, it's first issue. So at the end, I said, we're going to have to wait and see. And it might be fun, but there's some problems, that whole thing. And this one guy wouldn't stop. He just kept yelling at me that it was clickbait and I was rage baiting and I was an asshole and that I think that this and that, and it's only one issue. I said, watch the video. I'm not watching the video of a rage bait. I'm like, Jesus criminy. Yeah, I would. I don't know, Fair Monarch. There was a point where on the podcast way back, I used to tell people, because there was legit at one point, I was doing a little bit of laundry in our bathtub. When we did have a washer and dryer, but I was doing washing in the bathtub. But Alan says, I like the format you have now. It's a fun and relaxing show. That's good. See, that's what it is. Relaxing. He's being nice. He's saying I put him to sleep, I think is what's there. And Jim, you by far get the most banner with Wes. Doc, Nick, Aaron get 5 to 10 minute max. Brandon, you don't realize too, is that when we get on, I've already yapped for about 10 minutes beforehand even, and then we start up. That's why when we get into it, it's already like mid-conversation. That happens on our regular podcast too, especially with Eric. I'd go, and Eric was getting annoyed with me with it. But Alan says Aaron's segments with Aaron get depressing because Aaron has gotten so negative about things. And that's the thing. That was part of this whole fight too. And I don't look at Aaron as a negative guy. But I do think that it's getting to him. The things that he loves aren't good. And I think it's one of those where Aaron has that play that he almost like he knows how it can get better, but also knows that it probably never will. So it really does get to him. The banner with you and Wes is the best. Doc and Wes banner is good until Duck goes on a rant on X-Men. The best thing, though, if you talk about banner, is it usually isn't comics. We're yelling about food. We're talking about nonsense like that. It's pretty good. Aaron is a downer, but I do love his choice segment at the end. I love Aaron. Aaron hates on Callie a bit too much for what he does. I love the idea. It's like, I'm here, like right outside of Philadelphia, near Philadelphia. And so when Aaron's talking about California, I'm like, yep, I've never been there. And I'm East Coast, and I'm supposed to hate that. And then I imagine, like, Yul is like, what the hell did you just say? Like, what the F did you just say about Callie? Yeah, and Aaron is going through a grieving process. But again, I mean, that's the whole deal of the show, and everybody has their own thing, and some people are, upset more about certain things. You can tell. I mean, I yell all the time when they start talking about movies and TV. I kind of zone out and don't really have much to say. And then I know that Wes feels bad. He's like, Jim, what do you think? And then that's when I look miserable. I'm like, I don't know. No idea. I haven't watched. The movie, the last movie I watched was a Led Zeppelin documentary. That Becoming Led Zeppelin, that's about what you're going to get from me. I do like also Brandon and Alan. Like, Wes really doesn't like when I bring up the Beatles. I like doing that too. So, and we got to stop talking about Aaron, or something will end up happening. But I do love Aaron. I think he's great. I think he's a very, very smart guy, and actually has a lot of great opinions. And the things that he has to fix things, I think a lot of them would work. But the idea, again, people peg him maybe too much of being a bit more negative just because he, so again, here's the other thing. You're on a show that obviously wants to set topics that are kind of those, what would I say? Like the pulse of the streets, the things people are aggravated about. That's why people would want to come to the show. And so you do tend to seem more negative. I said to somebody on Twitter where they said I was the most miserable guy. And I said, if you just watch that show, you kind of get going. Though I will ask, the last time I was on a couple of weeks ago, I hope that people got my joke when I came on, and because I was late, I was doing shopping, and when I came on and I said, hey, how many super chats did I miss? I was joking because that seems to be a comment every week of when the actual show starts after the super chats. And I think Wes was pissed at me, and I didn't think anybody got the joke. And I was like, oh, I thought it was good. Yeah, that's what it is. They're hot button topics. They're topics that are going to get a rise out of people. That's what the show is set up to be. But that's not your whole conversation. Like, that's just 2 hours of that. Everybody on the show pretty much has their own shows where they then establish their kind of thing. I'm not going to say that I'm like everything smelling like roses and Fruit Loops. I do get mad, but I hope that, the deal. And I keep things more grounded. And that's why I enjoyed the discussion with you and Wes. And when you're on Aficionados, I like I said, I do try to keep my opinions, known at least after a while and whatnot. And then that gets me in fights with Dylan. And I love Dylan, but somehow that became a thing and stuff like that. But we'll get back to this because that is it for Marvel. These things end up late. I never should have live streamed. It's like the death of me. I right now legit have, I think I have 12 podcast episodes or shows, whatever, on Patreon and all those that I do have to edit. And I won't be able to do that tonight. I'm already, going to pass out. But we're going to keep going because we have the what is that? Indie comics. I did have one time, I'll just tell you this. Somebody asked me, oh, what's your favorite indie comic? So I grabbed an Indiana Jones comic cover and showed them that. Pretty funny, right? Indie comics. And then I think I had another one. It was like, people told me to read more indie comics. It's Indiana Jones comics, which aren't the greatest a lot of times, but that's fine. I'm looking through this again. I'm just going through to see what I would be into and out to. I have 2 from Dark Horse right off the bat. And the first one is Huck, Big Bad World #1, Mark Miller, Raphael Albuquerque. I think that I got a advanced preview copy of it, possibly from Gray, but I didn't read it. And I think by now I also would have had the review copies from Dark Horse and didn't read it. So I got I got 12 like podcast episodes to do, but I do like Mark Miller, though I will say I didn't like Vatican City at all. It was one of the few issues of Mark Miller, especially in #1, that I didn't like. Again, I thought it was a #2. I didn't like the art that much, but even the story, things just happen. It didn't have that clever zing, I think, that usual Mark Miller stuff has. But this is Huck continuing the deal. And it's $4.99. Huck is an autistic man with extraordinary powers who tries to do one good deed every day. Now he's back in a sequel where a mysterious man tells him and his mother aren't the only super people out there, and there are others in hiding just like them. I actually have never read Huck. So one of the things I will point out that I've mentioned this before, and it's weird that I've used Mark Miller as a deal. If this would have been, I don't know, Jadzia Axelrod doing the issue, of course it wouldn't be as good. I mean, I'll go out on a limb and say that. But the minute somebody would read Huck as an autistic man, you would already have people saying, oh my God, it's going to be all this. And a lot of times when these things do come out in any book that goes on, I mean, as far as even, again, not to piss people off, but a Tim Drake. He's bisexual, they say now. I think if Mark Miller did the story, whether he would or not, but if he did, it would be decent. It'd probably be good. It's not just the concept of, oh, an autistic. It's that the writer's good. There's just not a lot of great writers anymore. But I don't think people will be yelling that Mark Miller's deal here is woke or anything like that, because he probably doesn't center on it that way. There's ways of doing it and not doing it. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just saying, just because the solicit kind of does that, I can see people, if I just read that solicit and said, what do you think of this? There'd be some people who right away would end up, oh, I'm not reading that. And then I'd say, oh, it's Mark Miller. Oh, I'll read it. So again, I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm going to see how many people are mad at me now. There's Secret Six. Yeah, Secret Six is rough. Miller is a 4 out of 10 for him. And that's the thing too. A lot of people, it's weird too. I said I don't like horror comics because it kind of makes me feel whatever. Mark Miller books are definitely like that kind of feel. Like they do feel hateful at points, but I don't know. Something gets me. They're like just really like action movie stuff and whatnot. Alan said, I like the first Huck. I enjoy Mark's more wholesome titles the best. I never thought Huck as autistic. Seems someone's reaching describing Huck. Again, this is what I'm saying. I didn't read Huck, so the deal, but maybe that makes sense in the book or whatnot. I do. I like his wholesome ones too. Like Wanted. Like Nemesis. That's wholesome as hell. I do like those. And Fear Marks mentioned a deal that I will mention in a bit. And Brandon said we got Banger, Aquaman, Green Lantern, Superman. And there's a 4-hour mention there. It's not. It's I think you can tell I'm running on empty, as Jackson Brown once sang. So we're gonna go to the next one at the Dark Horse, and it's what Fear Monarch said. It is Usagi Yojimbo. Just as a plug, me and Gray do a Usagi Yojimbo podcast on our Patreon. It just started too, so you can get it on the ground floor. I love it. I've never really read Usagi. I think Usagi Yojimbo, and I said this on our podcast, it's one of those that you hear a lot of great things about, and a lot of people will say, oh man, I want to read that. But then I'd never really find a lot of people who did. And I'm glad I'm doing it because it is awesome. And it is awesome from the very, very start. Page 1. It is great. Art and writing. It's Stan Sakai on both writing and art. It's $4.99. Death returns to the village as the true killer is revealed, though Usagi, Yukichi, and Jen soon discover the tragedy that set events in motion. And I know those characters, even from the very beginning. The village will see its fortunes change forever, and grieving mother will lose everything for revenge. Another gut punch ending from Stan Sakai. And I'll tell you, Stan Sakai can get the feels. He also has a lot of humor, but it's done in a way that fits. I really do like the Usagi Yojimbo. Thanks to Gray, I will say. Or, a little more credit might go to Stan Sakai. But I will thank Gray for getting me involved as well. We're going to go over to Dynamite, where we do have one book that I will focus on here, and that's Space Ghost, number 12. David Pepos and Jonathan Lau on art. $4.99, Eve of Destruction. I didn't like that song. I had at one point, I had like K-Tel presents the psychedelic hits of the 60s. And there's some good ones, but not that one. In this issue, Space Ghost headquarters lies in ruins, and the ghost planet teeters on the edge of total collapse. The Council of Doom stands triumphant. Is it one world under doom? While the guardian of the spaceways barely clings to life. Unless we're missing something, it looks like Oblivion is about to claim our heroes and extinguish the last flickering light in the great darkness. There you go. The binary star system of writer David Pepos and artist Jonathan Lau. They're the binary star system. Is that like the hive mind of Lansing and Kelly? Because if it is, I'm out. Gaze into the abyss with Space Ghost 12. Fortified by indelible imagery from Francesco Mattina, Jay Lee, and June Chung, Bjorn Berens, who may or may not be from ABBA, and Anthony Marquez. There you go. That was a weird ending to that solicit pushing some things. So, but Space Ghost has been great. I'm a little behind. And actually, I looked at myself in the mirror. I'm a lot behind lately. That's why I'm on the keto diet, but actually it's not. I'm like 3 issues behind, actually. I got to catch up with that. Over at Image, I will throw this out. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Not a fan, but I know that it's, something that people are looking forward to. So we will talk about Exquisite Corpses, #1, written by James Tynion. The 4th, art by Michael Walsh. I remember at one point I did get mad at James Tynion and said that until his books get better, I'm not going to use the 4th anymore, that I'm going to give it to him by just calling him James Tynion. I've actually talked to James Tynion on the phone once, him and Scott Snyder. So that was kind of cool. He's very nice. Very, very nice. Doesn't seem to like me much. I think that Scott Snyder kind of told me that at one point, but that's fine. That's fine. Not many people do. I'm a 3rd, by the way. So the 4th deal, I get it. But the 4th seems like he's bragging a little. So here is what it is. Series premiere. Every 5 years on Halloween, the wealthiest families in America play a game. Yeah, here we go. 12. Is this The Purge? 12 of the deadliest people in the world are dropped into a small town with just one goal. Last killer standing wins. So it's the most dangerous game. Man. For the citizens of Oak Valley, Maine, it's weird. It says, for the citizens of Oak Valley, Maine, this year's unlucky arena, the goal is much. There's a lot of dashes in this. I don't know why they're screwing me up. They must survive the night. Kind of like The Purge. Experience a comics event like no other. From the minds of James Tynion IV and Michael Walsh. Isn't that the guy who got his kid kidnapped and then ended up doing that show? As they lead a group of the most exciting voices in the industry, over 13 blood-soaked chapters. These creators will collaborate and compete to determine who wins or who dies. And the game begins in this triple-sized debut. Triple size? That's way too much. So are they saying that it's one of those, like it's like when you do that, I'm going to write one chapter and then you write another and then you screw with the other person? Like, I did have a friend who liked to do that. So it'd be like, not a whole chapter, but he'd be like, hey, this guy goes and he finds a sword and then he walks. It's almost like D&D in a weird way, like a choose your own adventure kind of way, but you do it together. And then I'd go the second chapter, like they all died, the end. Now let's go play hockey. That's what I would do. He stopped playing that game with me. This is why James Tynion might hate me. That might be what. But the next book is Geiger, #14, one of my favorite books out there. Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, Ghostman. It's $3.99 Image / Ghost Machine. I keep messing that up lately. Ghost Machine's radioactive renegade faces his most perilous challenge yet as he confronts the devastating chaos brewing in Lewiston, Montana. I don't know that I knew it was in Montana. With his powers spiraling out of control, Tariq must fight to protect himself, his allies, and the innocent lives at stake. But salvation might only come with the unexpected aid of the glowing woman. Wait a minute, she's causing all the problems. I did say on the podcast at one point, I think, she's too sexy to be mad. Like, she can't be that bad. She's got to hook up. They got to knock some boots, like that. One up, when we do the retro book of the week, the first appearance of Wonder Girl, it was in a Teen Titans type deal back in the day. And I think it was just like Brave and the Bold still. There was no Teen Titans. And it was actually the first issue that they named the team the Teen Titans. And there's this kid in it, and people aren't trusting him. And so you have Donna Troy, and she goes, wait a minute. This kid has blue eyes. We have to trust him. And they all agree. It's like, I have blue eyes. I don't think that works. Yeah, that's pretty funny, though. I got a hoot out of that one. The next deal will be a book that I think a lot of people will be looking forward to. I read a bit of it. Pretty good. The Invincible Universe Battle Beast #1. Robert Kirkman writing, Rob Liefeld on art. Series premiere of the best new, not quite a superhero series in the universe. Cursed with an unquenchable thirst for violence, Battle Beast searches the universe for one warrior mightier than him and a glorious death, his only reward. But even a universe of mighty Viltrumites, the Invincible and Omni-Man, it seems that no one may be able to stop the galaxy's deadliest warrior unless he does the unthinkable. Superstars, this is the thing. It says Rob Liefeld, but I think it's Ryan Ottley, right? Superstars Robert Kirkman and Ryan Ottley present the most demanding Invincible story of all time, revealing the story of the Battle Beast. It just goes on with blind bags and things like that. Why did they put that in there? Because I did look, and maybe it's a cover or something. That's weird. Somebody can tell me. But I did look at it, and I did read a couple pages. It looked pretty cool. So there you go. But that was weird. That was a weird deal. And yeah, I see some other people talking about, I think Tynion gets bored after a series drags on Department of Truth. Something is killing the children. All started out great, and they got boring. Kind of like Detective Comics. Yeah, it is Ryan Ottley. I do think it is. I don't know why they put that. I think it might be a variant or something. I actually got excited for a second. Yeah, and like, oh my God. And yeah, you can go look, Joseph, you could go look. It does say it on the, I'm going off Comic Roundup, and it does say that. I'm like, that is weird. That is very, very odd. And then their Fear Mark is, James, no, really, I haven't watched The Purge, Tiny Onions. And then Fear Mark says, imagine you buy a big climactic issue of Invincible, you open up, and they got Rob Liefeld art. Wouldn't make sense. And on our Book of the Month club that we have on our Patreon, we have done, I think we're up to like, because we always have a poll and everybody picks the book, but I think we're up to like volume 5 of Invincible, and it's so good. It is so good. I haven't watched the cartoon because I'm an adult. That's why. We'll go on to the next books if there are. I'm telling you, this could just end in a second, or it could go on 4 more hours. Looking down here, I'll put it. I'm not reading it, but I will do this for people because I know they like Transformers. Transformers #20. Daniel Warren Johnson, Jorge Corona on art. It's $3.99. I have not read, I think, since like issue 12. I had to bail. It's not that I think it's a bad book. It's just not for me. I've explained it. It's more for fans that, I mean, the idea you can say, oh, no, Jim, it's for everybody. I don't know anything Transformers. I say this, and I'm not joking. I have never watched more than 2 seconds of anything Transformers, cartoon, movies, nothing. It's just not an interest of mine. So when you end up having characters show up that are big moments, cliffhangers, I don't know what's going on. I have to search the internet to see what actually I just read, which kind of dampers it. It's not hitting for me when you have to do that. But again, I realize people love it. What's next for Optimus Prime? I think he's going to start a boy band. The Autobots revive a group of allies who could change the tide of their war with the Decepticons. Is it in sync? But they don't know who or what is coming for them. That's the Backstreet Boys. The issue features key first appearances of fan favorite characters from the worlds of Transformers and G.I. Joe. So there you go. Like, that's what I'm saying. The big thing is key appearances of some Transformers. Oh my God, I got a cough. I would not know who they are. I wouldn't know what was going on. So it kind of dies for me. I'm back. I don't know that I have a drink. I ended up, last night I was recording something. Actually, it might have been the best of. And I spilled my coffee on my keyboard and ruined my keyboard. I got a new one. I didn't hook it up yet because I know my limitations. I'm going to hook it up when we're done tonight. But I do have a drink, but it is a 0 sugar Mountain Dew with a cap on it so it doesn't ruin things like I always do. Yeah, and Fear Mark says, I'm trying to summon the mothership. And I don't know a lot about the Transformers, so I'm excited to get the Skybound box set later this year. That's pretty cool. That does look cool in the whole deal. So in that, maybe we have some more. Let's see. I actually also like, I know that people might laugh, but I actually like the live stream with the kind of casual deal. Like I can cough and then I could say, hey, let's look to see what's next. Stuff like that. That's I'm saying that because I should be more prepared. I'm trying to convince everybody that that's a thing. I will put this one up because I was a fan back in the day. Speed Racer number 0, David Pepos. He's everywhere you go. Also says now this is weird too. I got to see what's going on here. Meanwhile, yeah, the comic roundup is wacky. It says artist Mark Russell. I know that that's not the case. He probably has another thing. And now that I know, and this is a free comic book day deal, so I don't know why it popped up. And now that Mark Russell's involved, I'm not talking about it now. We're out. Plus, it looked really long. That solicit for a Speed Racer number 0. All I need to know is if Chim Chim's there, and somebody please tell Speed that his brother survived. That's all I need. That's all I need at all. And I don't know. Did anybody go to the theater even or watch? I actually liked the Speed Racer movie. I thought it was pretty decent. I thought it was kind of cool, but a lot of people hated it. We saw it in the theater. At one point, I would take my kids every week to the theater, and that one week, that was what we watched. But that seems to be it. That is it. With all, I will mention one thing. It's not a preview or anything, but I will mention it is out something that people might be interested in. It looks like Volume 2 of Spider-Man Octogirl is actually out from Viz. And I remember reading the first couple chapters and kind of liked it. But and I'll ask people here also, if in general, would you be interested in maybe a couple manga reviews on the channel? If you're not, that's fine. Then I'll go and cry in the corner or whatever. But I do end up reviewing a bunch of manga, and I wouldn't mind doing a little bit on the channel, maybe even doing like a live stream or something with it. But I like to check that out. Also, the keyboards and white shirts I'm going through. I have a stack of keyboards. It's very bad. And there, Yule says he got Octogirl 2 in. That's cool. I think it was pretty fun and very cute. So, and Fear Monarch says, man, who does Peephole have blackmail? It's Space Ghost. It's that Space Ghost ended up hitting, and it's really good. And they're giving him a bunch of other things like Captain Planet and then the Speed Racer, I guess. But I don't want Mark Russell anywhere near anything but Speed Racer. He'll find some way to muck it up. But yeah, that's it. Those are the things I'm looking forward to. It's an hour and a half of this. I remember at one point I thought that this show should be about 20 minutes. But we have fun. We're hanging. And again, it's a weird thing. We're gonna finish this, and then I will not be heard for like 5 days. It's not like I pop in a lot with other things, which I do want to, but by the time we get done these live streams, legit in like 4 days, 3 days even, it's like 7 hours of live stream. I'm like, oh my goodness. And War Habit said, I think, always down for manga. I'd like to do some. I will say, though, I did have a separate channel at one point where I was doing video reviews of some manga, and it was doing okay. It wasn't doing great. But then suddenly I got hit with 2 copyright strikes within like 2 days. And it was because I put a couple panels. It wasn't one of these, hey, everybody, here's the whole manga and you could read along. Nothing like that. I would never do that. Basically what I do with the stuff that I do with comics, I'll never put a full page. I'll put a thing. I'll never usually put the spoiler cliffhanger, all that sort of thing going. Had a couple panels, and Viz got a hold of YouTube, and I got 2 strikes. And 3rd strike, you're out. And I was like, ooh, like, I don't know how am I going to do this then? So I did get a little antsy with it, but we can figure it out. We can figure it out, the deal. Yeah, there it is. I'll be back later for the Absolute Live show on Friday. Absolute Batman. That'll be cool. I'll be back on Friday, 7:15 p.m. with Gray. And yeah, and maybe between that, I am probably going to try to do a Gwenpool review, and maybe I'll do a One World Under Doom 4 review, just a separate thing on YouTube. But boy, I'll tell you, not a lot to talk about. And it really does feel like it would sound like just more bitching and moaning. And usually what I like to do is moan and bitch. So I don't want to get tagged as a bitching and moaner guy. And it's like the idea. I'm not into stuff. I'm into things. You have Comic Book Muscle said, I'm down for a manga segment. Plus, it's a bright set of comics right now. Yeah. And I just did a review today. What was it? It was Odor, the Flame something or something. It's the new chapter that hit the Shonen Jump this past week or this week. It's Monday. And it's okay. It's the same person, if you are into this stuff, it's the same person who did the Hunters Guild Red Hood, which there's a lot of fans. The guy I usually talk to manga with, Luke Hollywood, was a huge fan, but me and him ended up like arguing about it because I said this thing's going to get canceled. And I don't know, this Odor, it was okay. It wasn't great. And then recently we reviewed Nice Prison. And again, I'd like to do some like number ones and new chapters, either in the magazine or the Jump Plus stuff or the stuff that's on Manga Plus, things like that. Maybe some one shots and things like that. But if people were into it, I would do that to kind of expand some things. And maybe at one point, I did say a lot of people on YouTube stuff, you don't like, you wouldn't realize the stuff that we have going on and stuff from the past. But at one point, legit had a manga reading club podcast for every day of the week, and then also had a weekly review show where we went through like 20 books each and every week. And that went on for quite some time until it didn't. And it was basically because the people I was doing with ended up having to bail a bit. But it's still recording. I still have to edit some things, but Death Note. And I want to get back to like, we had a Spy Family reading club, My Hero Academia, Demon Slayer, Jujutsu Kaisen, Chainsaw Man, Dragon Ball, keep it on the going. There was something else involved as well, but we had a lot of that, and I love them all. So we still like. I think the most popular thing I've ever done was probably our Demon Slayer podcast, and we haven't done an episode now in probably 6 months, and there's still people that get on the what's it called, Apple Podcasts, and put a review asking us to come back and do it because we just disappeared. We never really finished it. We just, all of a sudden, we just weren't doing it. So it kind of was crazy. Yeah. The thing is, we did talk about One Piece. I'd love to, some of these we're never going to get done anyway. You know, even something like a My Hero, I think we're at chapter 100 or so. And we're not, but the idea that you start a One Piece reading club, you know that you will not that's something you have to leave to people in your will. It's like, I leave to Ethan, my middle son, the One Piece reading club that he must continue, plus stay a weekend in his uncle's haunted house. Is what would have. I wish that I was rich enough to actually do that for a will. Like, you guys are going to have to do this, but you're going to have to stay in the haunted mansion for a weekend. And then in the meantime, set it up that shit does go deal that seems like it's haunted. Right? And then it's The Purge, and then it's a James Tynion book. And then it works out. But I love that trope. The two tropes that I really love are that. And I also love when you have the, I don't want this job, so I'm going to go and screw around during the interview. And then the boss then says, you're hired. What? I need somebody who thinks different, and that's you. Like, I love that trope too. Never works. Don't try that in real life. You will not get the job. But that is it. That is it for the show. I could end up playing a dirty song. I did drop a dirty song. I should mention the Sus Records. I usually don't, but then I do. But that's really the moneymaker. That's where you get everything going on for me. And all of this is, thank God for the dirty songs, because that keeps the lights on. But I could play a somewhat dirty song. I did play one, the deal. I did have a 70s sounding love song, but it does end up having some curse words. So you might want to, shield your ears if that's something that gets you. But it is a 70s sounding song. I think it's pretty cool. I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to play it, and people, be damned, I say. A lot of people say I don't say the F word in the song, so at least I have that. But I'm going to play the song. If you like it, fine. That'd be great. Go to Sus Records. If you don't, maybe don't go there, because this is one of the things that I like to do, and I do like to do this as fun. So Yes, the white shirt bundles keep coming because of the songs. And legit, I also have, if you do look up Sus Records on any of your streaming services, we're on that too. It's not just on YouTube. And I'll tell you, the streaming stuff and all the dirty songs, it does keep the lights on. I I actually think the dirty songs are the best job I've ever had, except when I was in a band in college. We actually got paid a crazy amount of money at points because we played every day. But in the meantime, you'll hear the skills that pay the bills here in a song that is straight out of the 70s. It does have some curse words, so I warn you, but that is it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with me. I really do like just talking, and you guys actually, I do appreciate that. A lot of people listen to this whole show. That is a feat because I know that I'm hard to keep up with because I'm all over the place. I'm not saying that as a compliment either. I'm not being pretentious. I'm saying it's annoying. And a lot of people in my life have told me in no certain terms that I am the most annoying person they've ever talked to because I cannot keep on a subject. But hopefully that ends up being something you like. In fact, I did have a guy I work with. See, we're not done. I had two guys I work with that legit, it was probably 2010. I wanted to start a podcast with these guys, the guys I work with. And I said, it'd be fun. We talk all day about stuff. And they're like, what would it be about? And I said at this point, well, would it be about like pop culture stuff? Like we talk about some movies or sports. We'll just talk about whatever. That's what comes up. And they're like, nobody would listen to that. They like went in. And then it became, nobody would ever want to listen to you. You're so annoying when you start talking about things because you can never keep on any subject. And then you go from one to the other and you're all over the place and it gets so annoying. And it threw me. It threw me for at least 5 years, them saying it. And I remembered. I told them then later. I told them to stuff it is what I told them. But that is it. Stuff it, I say. Here we go with the dirty song. I hope you like it. I hope you don't get too offended. But here we go right now. And I'll talk to you guys hopefully on Friday when we do the Absolute Batman show with Gray.
I just found out you are planning to leave. That is something I don't want to believe. I know we always used to fight, but we made up for that every night, I'd say. But now your big dick is going away. Your big dick is going away. I wish I had the words to make you stay. You could barely even fit it in. You filled my holes right to the brim each day. But now your big dick is going away. I guess this is our very last goodbye. I don't think I'll find another guy, at least not one as big as you. I wish there's something I could do or say. But now your big dick is going away. Your big dick is gone away. I wish I